In a question posed by Unilad, actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt asked Kevin Bacon, what real-life crimes or mysteries have you been fascinated by? Bacon says, the Jinx. Meanwhile, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going to say, I'm just going to go for it. Are you ready to go with me? And Bacon says yes. He says, how about when the former president, Donald Trump, called up an election official in Georgia and said, you need to change the votes, 11,000, so that I can win, and I'm the president, and you need to do this. That's a real-life crime, Bacon says. Gordon-Levitt, that is a real-life crime. Yeah, come at me. Go ahead. Yeah, I know you're ticked, but let's just talk about the fact the former president is a full-on criminal, is what he said.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state. Wouldn't you want to find the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right? So, look, can you get together tomorrow? And, Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It takes a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes, at least. So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
It was a pathetic display from a pathetic man with a mob boss mentality attempting to bully the Georgia Secretary of State to fraudulently overturn their state's election results.
This afternoon in Georgia, Gabriel Sterling, a top state elections official, refuted the president's allegations of fraud.
This is all easily provably false, yet the president persists. And by doing so, undermines Georgians' faith in the election system.
These are the folks Trump and his cronies wish to replace, so the dirty work can be done in the near future.
It's not deja vu. This is something far worse than occurred in Watergate. We have both a criminal president of the United States in Donald Trump and a subversive president of the United States at the same time in this one person, subverting the very basis of our democracy and willing to act criminally in that subversion. But more important, what we hear on this tape, this is the ultimate smoking gun tape. It is the tape with the evidence of what this president is willing to do to undermine the electoral system and illegally, improperly, and immorally try to instigate a coup in which he remains the president of the United States. And in any other presidency, this tape would be evidence enough to result in the impeachment of the president of the United States, his conviction in the Senate of the United States, and really an immediate call by the members of Congress, including of his own party, that he resign immediately. That's really what we ought to be hearing from Republicans at this moment.
Of course, this did not happen, and they all fell in line. Like cowards, by the way. Total and complete cowards. Now, it is important to note that Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his family are not only well-read, but have been involved in politics for quite some time via The Guardian. The subject hits close to home. Gordon-Levitt's parents were both prominent in progressive politics in California in the 1960s and the 1970s. His father, Dennis Levitt, was an investigative reporter and news editor for public radio. His mother, Jane, was a member of the Peace and Freedom Party and once ran for Congress. His maternal grandfather, Michael Gordon, was a film director who was blacklisted in the McCarthy era. So with the roles that he has taken on in the last few years, it comes with the territory of understanding the nuance and intricacies of politics to play those characters to a T. And he has done that. And when the protests came out in the summer of 2020, there was another quote that showed Gordon-Levitt does not hold back when it comes to a fascist like Donald Trump. Quote, there's an argument that ended up playing into the hands of the right. And I think Donald Trump has leveraged that to his advantage in a way that's obviously been effective for him, but is infuriating for a leftist like myself. And after I read that quote, I'm like, wait. I had no idea one of the most successful actors of our era identifies as a leftist. That was stunning to me. Stunning. And honestly, as a network, we should probably reach out to him and see if he would want to chop it up. It feels odd, man. It just does. Like, we're seeing the Clooney op-eds and Deborah Messing being off of her freaking rocker and like Jerry Seinfeld. And then you see Joseph Gordon-Levitt identifying with leftist politics. It's a sight to behold. There was also a quote I found when it came to the 2016 election that I want to read for you. He would say, I won't say that I agree with Hillary Clinton about everything, but Donald Trump, there's certainly a lot of folks like me who were excited about Bernie Sanders who don't want to vote or vote for Hillary. The thing I've been saying is I remember the year 2000. I was 19 years old, and that was the first time I got to vote for president. It was Al Gore versus George W. Bush, and I voted for Ralph Nader because I felt like there was an important difference. They were both the establishment. Al Gore would end up losing. George Bush would end up winning. Put a pin in that. And in the subsequent 8 years under Bush, we entered a disastrous, arguably illegal war in Iraq. It's not inarguable. And the economy fell the blank apart. It became very clear to me that there was a difference between Gore and Bush. Now, that's not to say that I agreed with Al Gore about everything, but to say there's no difference is not just looking at the facts. That's how I feel about voting for Hillary Clinton. There's definitely some things that I disagree with her about, but to say that she's no different than Trump, one denies that climate change exists, and one believes in it. There's obviously a lot more to this. What I will personally follow up with is just to go over the points that I wanted to hit. I was, judge as you will, a proud supporter of the Sanders campaign from 16 and then also 20, and I felt like my hands were tied once again by the entire Dem establishment, that I was basically given terrible choices, but it was always coming down to harm mitigation. And the DNC knows this, and it's where we are today. The second part is him saying that arguably illegal war in Iraq, it was 1,000% illegal. There have been veterans who have gone on the record saying that it was an illegal war. I have seen podcast appearances from veterans now that they're in their 50s, let's say, 40s, 50s, what have you, and basically saying, I fought and unalive people for a guy because he was scared about some minimal threat that was never going to happen, and for the military-industrial complex, so shareholders could make tons of money. To hear the bigger picture being spewed by a veteran is very important, but also shows that the tradition carries on, that they withhold so much from some of the most desperate people and then say, we will help you with healthcare. We will help you with a free education. All you got to do is fight our wars. That's a terrible trade. It's a trade that should never happen, but it's something that they love to do. Another part about this is when it comes to climate change, that is true. And through Project 2025, we have seen that Donald Trump and his cronies want to drill more, and they want to increase fossil fuels when, scientists like Peter Kalmus and many more are saying we cannot do this anymore. Look at what's happening in Texas. Look at what's happening with our day-to-day lives being affected. Look at what is happening as it is getting hotter, as winters are shorter. This is because a few billionaires want to continue raking in record profits, price gouging us, knowing it is a detriment not just to our pockets, but also the human being existence as a whole. One thing that I think needs to be underlined is at one point the Biden administration did more drilling than the Trump administration. So they do say that they are fighting climate change, and there has been some legislation that has been passed, but hand in hand, they also there is some overlap when it comes to donor money. It just is. And yet here we are once again with this same mantra being held in 2024. And there's been a lot of discussions on this network about how people are feeling towards it, about how if presidents drop out, what have you. I am also torn, but I know that for the betterment of so many marginalized communities, women, there is only one way to vote, and I do believe that there is only one party that can potentially be pushed. There is also only one party that has dissent within its own party, within its own ranks, mainly from the Progressive Caucus, who can go way further, do not get me wrong. But it's largely the pushing of leftist politics that have resulted in some important legislation being had through this administration, who I am no fan of. But if we want to make a move, it's going to happen with one side of the aisle, and you know which one that is. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.